You have a window of 5 minutes. Within that 5 minutes, I'll movie review anything that you want me to. After that, you're on your own. Let's do this. Drive! Drive, released in 2011 and is directed by Nicholas Winding Refn, who's also directed such films like Bronson, Valhalla Rising, Only God Forgives, and The Neon Demon. And this film is starring Ryan Gosling, Carrie Mulligan, Albert Brooks, Christina Hendricks, Oscar Isaac, Ron Perlman, and Bryan Cranston. Ryan Gosling plays a no-named man who is a stunt driver for films by day and a getaway driver by night. Things in his life are going just smoothly until a pretty woman and her son moves in next door. The driver finds himself pulled in their general direction and starts developing feelings for this woman. However, this woman's husband is just released from prison and is needing help in pulling off one more score to satisfy all of his debts with the mob. So the driver agrees to help, but doesn't realize that the crime they're about to pull off is going to start a domino effect that unravels his entire life. Now, I remember when this film came out in 2011, everyone that I knew who watched it thought that this film was one of the greatest things that was ever made. And I remember watching it probably like a year later thinking, oh, this was kind of a letdown, actually. The first 5-10 minutes of this film, when we actually get to see Ryan Gosling, the driver, drive, was awesome. But then the rest of the film became this really slow, kind of like crime thriller heist thing that I guess I just wasn't expecting at the time. And because I wasn't expecting it, in my mind, I think I just said, wow, this film was not as good as everyone was saying that it was. Now that I know that that happens, now that I've seen it about 8 years later, I think this film is brilliant. One of the rare cases where a film that I was like, meh, on many years ago, watching it now, it actually improved with the next viewing. So, good job, Drive. You did well. It kind of has the essence of a Clint Eastwood, the good, the bad, the ugly type storyline where we have this kind of drifter that has no name. We never find out Ryan Gosling's character's name in this film. He's just the driver, and he just kind of goes from mission to mission, and he's just kind of there, living his life, doing what he knows how to do. How he came to be a getaway driver, we really never find that out. We have a sense that in his previous life, before moving to wherever he is now, that he was a criminal. We don't know what he did or how he did it, but we can sense that this guy wasn't as clean as we think that he is now. And when we actually get to see him do the whole getaway driving thing, this guy's a total badass. The first 10 minutes of this film, I still say, are the best minutes of this movie. You get to see how Ryan Gosling figures out how he's gonna escape cops, how he's going to outrun everyone. You don't know exactly what he's thinking, but you can sense what he's thinking. How he ends up evading the cops in the end, I think it's brilliant. It's total badass, too. Man's a son of a bitch, though, and kudos to the director and the writer, because we don't want to make this criminalistic character seem all righteous and goody-goody two-shoes. No, this character is definitely flawed, and he's not a good guy in the typical sense of the word. In any other story, this would be a villain. This would be an antagonist to someone. But since he is our primary focus, he is our protagonist, he's the one that we're following in this story. He doesn't have a lot of lines in the film, and actually a lot of his facial reactions and a lot of mannerisms and blocking in this film are very stoic. There's a lot of just slow zoom-ins on his face. Just kind of looking, whether it's at Carrie Mulligan or whether he's looking at an auto part. We just see a lot of slow zoom-ins on him just staring. And I think that's part of the reason why I didn't like this movie the first time I viewed it many years ago. But now I think I'm expecting that, and I liked it much more this time. And this was right around the time when Bryan Cranston was getting a resurgence. Of course, with his TV show Breaking Bad, he started getting all these small, supporting, like really meaty roles in a lot of these films. Drive, Argo. He started showing up in everything, and he eats up the scenery here. He's just great to look at. He's a very naturalistic actor, and I love that. Then from out of nowhere, we see Ron Perlman, who I want to say is like one of the most comic book real life people in the world. Like if you see Ron Perlman in real life, I would go, you are straight out of a comic book. You should be on paper, but you are here in person. How is that possible? And I want to say this is my first blood with Oscar Isaac, who is just a brilliant actor, who's gone on to star in many other things that I've watched. But really, this was the first thing that I saw him in, not even realizing that it was Oscar Isaac. Again, a small role, but he plays it to perfection. The only acting performance that I didn't really like in this film was Carrie Mulligan, unfortunately, and I don't think it's the actress's fault. I think it's more of the screenwriter and how they wrote this character. She's just this damsel in distress, can never do anything for herself. She always has to have a man in her life and not doing her bidding, but really just fighting for her and pining over her. And whenever we see her on screen, all she's really doing is just kind of staring off in the distance, and very much like Ryan Gosling does, but I don't know, there's a difference between how Ryan Gosling does it and Carrie Mulligan. There's just this weird grin that she has on her face. It's just so annoying to look at. That's what she does the whole time. The film is still very slow-paced, and again, I'm expecting that this time around. I guess before, when I first saw this film, I was expecting a movie like what we got years later with Baby Driver. Just a bunch of cool action set pieces and a lot of cool stunt driving. We don't really get that here. Yes, we have a cool segment in the beginning, and then the rest of the film, it's more of a character study, and it's a slow, steady crime thriller build up to this bloody climax of a movie. You'll know it when you see it, when this film gets into the next gear. Just blood and fights and just physicality galore here. The point where I'm actually kind of shocked with how gory and how bloody this film ended up being. And the least you can say about it is that it's a very interesting film. You think the story is going to go one way, and at one point it just completely pivots, at least to me. It completely pivoted, and I was like, oh, we're going down this direction. Okay. Wasn't expecting that, but cool. Let's see where it goes. All leading up to an ending that is very ambiguous. There's really no resolution to their story. Their stories are definitely continuing, but we just don't know where they go off to. This man with no name is kind of just here and does his thing and then just rides off into the sunset for their next adventure. It's very much a modern day Western in California with cars. It was a much better viewing experience for me at this point than it was back in 2012 when I first saw this film. Definitely improved, and I think it's a definite recommend for anyone who's looking for kind of that slow build crime thriller film. I'm going to give Drive 4 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I like it a lot.
Alright everyone, now comes my favorite part of my videos where I randomly select which movie I'm going to be watching next, so let's take a look. Vertigo! Oh boy, Alfred Hitchcock. I'm actually very nervous to do that, because whenever you talk about a filmmaker who has been discussed in, like there are classes taught on just Hitchcock alone, I'm going to open myself up for a lot of comments on YouTube, that's for sure. I think I've only reviewed one Hitchcock film previously, and it was very early on this channel, North by Northwest. I wasn't a particular big fan of that film. I think it was, great for what it was, but wasn't one of my favorites. I remember being laid into. I've only watched Vertigo once, though, and actually I can't remember a single thing about it. So let's check it out next time. If any of you have recommendations of films that you want me to review on here, you can leave a recommendation below this video, or go to my Facebook page, my Instagram, or my Twitter. Leave your recommendation there. And if I have access to it, I will watch, review it, and give you a shout on the channel. And if you really want me to do your recommendation as quickly as I possibly can, you can make a PayPal donation by selecting the donate button on the main page of my YouTube channel. Any size donation will do. Just attach your movie with your donation, and if I have access to it, I will watch it and publish my review of it as quickly as I possibly can and bypass this whole random generator. So guys, have you seen Drive? What did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so you'll know the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time with my review of Vertigo. But in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.